This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Temple Prime. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is not Infinity Isle. That's maybe 50% of the reason why I chose this replay, and the 50 other percent you guys already know. But on the left side as the red, as the Empire, this is ASDFGHJK period, aka Zaar. That's what the replay said. I don't know who Zaar is, but I've definitely seen this player before. However, on the right side, the real reason you all clicked, he's yellow, he's Soviets. Give it up for Dimon. When you see Dimon playing Soviets, his classic yellow color as well, you have to check out the game. And on the plus side, it did have a good number of wubs on game replays, which isn't always an indicator of quality, but we got ourselves Dimon. Well, he's not quite going to accomplish his goal of clearing out that oil derrick, which he just really does not want Zaar or ASDF to be able to capture. But yeah, you see Dimon playing that yellow, playing that Soviets. The last time we saw Dimon, I think he was playing Empire. People always get upset, even though he can put on some great games as Empire. Everyone loves to see him as Soviets. All that to say, I don't know, it's Temple Prime. We'll see how this goes. This map can be a little bit weird. And gets the burst drone right there. Nicely done by Dimon. It's going to be double refinery war factory right into the super reactor. So delaying the third a bit, and no oil derrick at all for Dimon. One for ASDF. He hasn't quite grabbed the other one just yet. And it looks like for the current moment, he will not be getting it at all. I think his last dojo has already been sold off or destroyed. And his first Tengu is now out. The sickle also out for Dimon. By the way, big thanks to all those who do support me over on Patreon. It's really just a tip jar system at the current moment, but a big thanks to all of those people who have done that. You have helped make 2021 a little bit smoother, just for me personally. Tengu going to be flying around. He gets a good sight of that hammer tank and decides not to transform. A fair choice, all things considered. He's going to poke over at this third base. Well, maybe not. With the Tesla coil already started, there isn't going to be a huge opportunity for a single Tengu to do all that much. Harvester harassment does continue. Zaar is going to do what he can to shut this down. Does manage to scare away the Terror Drone, at least for now, so the Terror Drone will be able to lock down this ore collector for only a moment before these Tengus close the distance and go for the kill. Yes, this is a barracks down here by the southern oil derrick. It looks like the Tengus are going to give up on trying to kill off that Terror Drone, but finding value where he can. Zaar goes for the reactor there on the east side of the map. The sickle will finally go down. A little bit of damage, yeah, so maybe a third of the health knocked off of both of those ore collectors. There's a capture right there. So Zaar going to be setting himself up quite well if he can manage to secure a third refinery. Third refinery plus 2 oil derricks would be a solid position. And oh, for a second I thought he was managing to grab both of those Tengus with a single stasis of that Terror Drone. Reactor goes down or gets sold off in the last moments there. And yeah, with this Tesla coil here, it's going to be hard for just a Tengu to drop in on that refinery. But of course, we'll have to see if the VXs, which I assume... No, wow, okay, so it's going to be super delayed third refinery, no Tier 2. I assumed with how late that that third refinery was that Tier 2 was out and that was where the cash was going, but actually it looks like Zaar may have just sort of overspent for the first couple of minutes. So all of this shenanigans that's been going on, the sickle coming in, the Terror Drone running around, the super reactor going into the Tesla coil, this has completely set back Zaar quite a bit. Now, he does drop the docks over by that naval yard, or over by that refinery, so he will have a little bit of protection, a little bit of passive healing there on that ore collector, and I think now Tier 2 is finally going to be coming up for Zaar. All of the shenanigans that Dimon has been pulling in this game have really set back Zaar from what a normal point in this game would be. He should have gotten to Tier 2 or his third refinery much sooner than he did. But I'm guessing the extra difficulty of securing just his own main base and those 2 oil derricks is what led him to getting all of that other stuff so late. Dimon running around with, what, 4 hammer tanks? Yeah, at least 4 hammer tanks. Yeah, 5 hammer tanks are out. Cancels, I guess, another reactor out there on the water. And Dimon going to be potentially looking to take a 4th base relatively soon, a 4th refinery, rather, possibly just out here on the water, which would be kind of interesting. And now the refineries are in good order, so everything is now looking pretty solid for Zaar. He's got that Tier 2 first Tsunami tank coming back out, and a dojo. Do we have any real plans for that dojo, or is it just going to be a couple of Imperial Warriors, a couple of tank busters to help break the Soviet armor of Dimon? And Dimon finally going to be getting his own engineer out at the, 30-minute mark in this game, as it may as well be, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. But that engineer is crazy late by comparison. Tengu gets the scout, and he's like, all right, so I've got 4 refineries, 2 oil derricks. You've got 3 refineries, no oil derricks. And that is certainly good for Zaar. It's about to change. Satellites getting called down on that power plant. Probably going to have to be forced to sell it off. No, the satellites don't actually get the kill on that power plant. Terror drone will get the infect on that Tsunami tank, but fortunately it does have those point defense drones, so it really won't take very much hull damage at all. One Tsunami tank may be getting caught out. The stasis of that terror drone, so dangerous. And we'll have to see how the infantry are able to work in here. It's actually just one tank buster and the rest Imperial Warriors. Enough bears from Dimon to hold that off, and the Tsunami tank's now going to be closing the distance. The hammer tank's going to be reversing away, unable to make their leech beams that much effective for the range. Terror drone going to be going for the infect, but he doesn't actually get it in the stasis. Wasn't enough to slow down these units. Nice infect there as that terror drone spawns in right next to that Tsunami tank, and almost a double infect, but this terror drone is going to be used for the delay, I assume, of those Tsunami tanks and not actually for the infect. There's the 4th ore refinery up and running, so both players sitting pretty on that 4 refinery economy, and the leech beam is going to try and work some magic for Dimon. He's barely going to get this Tsunami tank. No, he barely won't, even with the body blocking accidentally happening with Zaar's own units. Those nano deflectors are indeed enough healing power to keep that Tsunami tank alive. Very careful interactions between Dimon and Zaar. You keep seeing what Dimon's trying to do, upset the plans of Zaar, but then also he's trying to be careful and sneaky, engage at a range. Whether it's satellites or the leech beam, he's trying to pull Zaar apart little bit by little bit without directly engaging. Once you get up close and personal with those fast-firing Tsunami tanks, they will shred your armor if you are not careful. And this is a lot of Tsunami tanks, so let's see how Dimon handles this. Most likely, he's going to want to try and pull this engagement out over the course of a minute or 2 and not let it all go down in one moment, because with this many Tsunami tanks, this many tank busters, if he engages all at once, the firepower is going to be crazy. He's going to need some bears or some sickles or something to disrupt those tank busters so that he can kind of deal with the army one piece at a time. But Tengu's flying over, 5 of them in formation, taking a couple of shots there, but no easy openings for them to transform. They can try and engage over here, but it's going to be a tough call against one Tesla coil, maybe with point defense drones, and there's going to be the overcharge of the Stingray. Will end up going down. The Ari mini-subs do clean it out, and he decides not to engage that Tesla coil. A Tesla coil will burn through quite a few Tengus before they manage to take it down if it's just Tengus. With point defense drones, I think it's maybe 2 hits to kill a Tengu, but without, I believe it's just that 1 hit. And so the Tesla coil with repair can definitely deal with a good number of Tengus. No Tier 3 just yet from, I believe, either player, which means we're going to be delaying our artillery for quite some time in this game. It's a big focus on that mid-game kind of army, and the Akula sub is just going to be going for the kill, and there's one suicide, and here's the other. Goodbye, Akula sub. It got a good amount of damage off, so the Tier 2 satellites might be able to take it down. No, this is still Tier 1 satellites, and it does get the kill. So actually more than enough there, as that Akula sub got off just enough damage to finish off that to finish off that refinery with that satellite drop. And he's just attacking his own civvy structure for some reason. And yeah, no, there is still a Tesla coil there. You can't really deal with that too easily with just those Tengus. Now, one thing that this naval yard in the corner, it did get spotted, which of course has to start ticking in the back of Zaar's mind. There's going to be dreadnoughts, aren't there? Are there going to be dreadnoughts? I mean, it's not a guarantee, but there's probably going to be dreadnoughts, aren't there? And we'll see what ends up coming out of the naval yard. It could literally just be for 1 or 2 Akula subs. Maybe an Akula sub and a Stingray, something like that, to break this southern expansion and to keep Zaar out of the water, who's now retaken a 4th refinery, but this time on the high ground. The high ground, an area that Dimon has chose to avoid for the current moment. Man, this is so many tanks. This is actually an insane amount of units by comparison to what we normally see in Red Alert 3. This is so many units out on the field. Dimon going to be going for a bit of a look there, and I still feel like, okay, there's the battle lab. I feel like the clock is ticking on dreadnoughts, and is this going to be a big commitment to Navy to try and do 3 or 4 Akula subs so that the dreadnoughts are safe, and then 2 or 3 dreadnoughts to just really tear apart the main base of Zaar? Or is it just going to be that single dreadnought and sell off the naval yard that we sometimes see players do when they're just trying to throw something at the wall to see if they get lucky almost more than anything? Because, of course, a VX or 2 will absolutely demolish a dreadnought before it does very much damage. But I guess if the dreadnoughts aren't, or if the VXs aren't quite ready, maybe they can do just enough to hold off, to break your opponent. Not sure what happened over there at that oil refinery, but Dimon has now taken both of the oil derricks, and he's also been able to break this refinery of his opponent, even getting himself an Akula sub up to that veteran status. And goodbye Akula sub, but it has done exactly what it was supposed to. Something is under construction. Is it a dreadnought or not? And finally, that refinery does go down. The build radius is preserved by the reactor, so Dimon can get that back. And I mean, hey, he gets himself a little bit of cash back with that bounty bonus. And the Crusher Crane is now out on the field, so the MCV might become a little bit more mobile. Nope, it's just an Akula sub. My hopes are dashed. Your hopes are dashed. We were all hoping for the dreadnought to come out, but it did not. So the V4s will kind of, going back to what we talked about in the early to mid-game, is the V4s are going to allow Dimon to do the same sort of thing. Try and tap his opponent from a distance, and those satellites were almost catastrophic, but did miss by enough of a margin. There was enough space there that wasn't that much of a problem. But once again, Dimon is going to try and pull this army apart before the engagement ever really happens. We saw him do that with satellites and Leech Beam earlier in this game, and now it's just up to the V4s to be that kind of consistent damage output to outrange his opponent. He sees the Shogun battleship, and by mere moments, he misses the opportunity to kill that core extremely quickly. All right, trying to engage up a ramp. This is going to kind of funnel Zaar's units into a choke, and that was a magnificent V4 split of that bomb, going to be delaying a lot of those infantry and killing a decent number of them. There's the big transform of the Tengus as the hammer tanks rush in, and it's going to be up close and personal with the guns of those Tsunami tanks, trying to keep them at a range so that honorable discharge does not... Oh my gosh, that was an insane hit of the V4. The honorable discharge not helping Zaar out in that case. Wave Force artillery nowhere to be seen, but that King Oni is indeed here to be seen. Hammer Tank still a little bit cautious about engaging, still trying to draw out this engagement longer and longer is Dimon. He's going to kind of draw this out a moment longer. If he engaged with all of his hammer tanks, he could indeed take this, but it would be maybe a little bit more costly than he's going to try and make it. Yeah, see this every chance that he gets. He wants to draw this out longer and longer. And goodbye on that Shogun battleship. And Natasha gets the snipe. And finally, this Tsunami tank doesn't... Oh, no, it actually didn't go down to the V4 rockets. It went down, I think, to one of these hammer tanks. that has an extra gun now. The Terror Drone going to be going out for the Infect on the Yari mini-sub. And, well, I guess for... suicide is a good option there. That's a terrible soundbite for general life. That's not a... Anyways, I wonder if a bear is going to go ahead and pilot that Shogun battleship. But for the current moment, it's just waiting derelict out there. Nothing to really make it active. Reset was just pressed there. A big old reset button, but not entirely. Dimon holds on to the majority of his army without the confidence, though, to walk across the map and try and do some damage. He's happy to play this one out very slowly and just trying to gain a definite edge. By the way, he did lose this oil derrick at some point. It was recaptured by Zaar. I'm not exactly sure when, but it looks like Zaar back up to 5 refineries now, spread out around the map, and Dimon is going to do what he can to try and shut that down. Stingray in the north, Akula sub in the south. Second Akula sub going to be going for the kill on this Shogun battleship, and it looks like the Shogun is going to be going for the refinery, trying to shut that down directly and not go for the naval yard. Stingray gets the kill on the Harvester, and another Harvester is already started up, but where is... Okay, it's going to be a Shogun. The defense is going to be a Shogun battleship, which is certainly enough of a defense against just a single Stingray. Toxins get dropped on the King Onis as they're walking down that hill, and eventually the Stingray does go down, but killing off the Tier 3 Naval Yard may actually be the bigger blow to Zaar than just simply killing off the refinery immediately, although the refinery is very low on health, and without the Naval Yard, reinforcements are unlikely. Shogun battleship will clean up this Akula sub as well, and the Akula sub is going to actually get the kill on the Harvester, and the satellites are possibly going to be finishing off that refinery regardless of the Akula sub. The Shogun battleship unable to kill that Akula sub fast enough. There's the impact of 1 King Oni, and the Terror Drone's going to be getting the stasis to lock it down, but this is 3 King Onis and actually 3 Terror Drones. So they actually could potentially lock down all of the King Onis, but not the Wave Force artillery. And once again, Dimon trying to draw out this engagement. On one hand, he's giving Zaar the opportunity to rebuild and reform his army to get another chance, but because he's playing so defensive, it means that he's getting all of this free damage. Look at all of this damage that he's able to do to Zaar as he's slowly building up his number of V4s, and Zaar is trying to be cost efficient with that infantry, but it's just not working out when they get so spread out like this. Bear's now going to be rushing in, trying to flank this army and separate the King Onis away so that they can be dealt with by the V4s and by the Terror Drones, as the Super Reactor is actually going to be the target now, and actually the Hammer Tanks around on the high ground get the kill on that Wave Force artillery, and it's all over at this point for Zaar. His economy is in shambles. He lost his Tier 3 Naval Yard, and now once again he has played into the hand of Dimon, who has also been building a secret air army on the, over here on the east. He's been building that up. He's kept his construction yard around. He has not gone for the Crusher Crane cashback on that. And the one thing that Zaar has going for him is he just cleaned up a good handful of Twin Blades. And somehow Zaar did manage to... Oh, this must have been the Shogun battleship from up in the north, but it's now going to be, I don't know, maybe just sniped again by Natasha, like what happened to its other Shogun brethren. At the same time, Dimon has just been slowly pulling everything down around Zaar, and Zaar doesn't really have much of an answer for Dimon. Dimon, at some point, is going to get the courage to walk across the map and just start slapping down Zaar, but for the current moment, he's still happy to sit back in his base for another little moment. I'm not actually sure why the Shogun battleship didn't follow this, why that Akula sub didn't follow the Shogun battleship to deal with it. Maybe the Twin Blades are going to come down. It looks like maybe just Terror Drones. Another Tengu goes down. Dimon is going to have a pretty sick unit cost efficiency ratio at the end of this. So there's the Infect. The Shogun battleship will get eliminated by either the Terror Drone or that Stingray. And Zaar is actually still going to try and mount a comeback here. He's going to drop tank busters into his opponent's base and go for the kill of this Harvester. And he will actually get at the reactive armor a little bit too slow there. And Dimon dropping toxins over there. Again, keeping pretty much his entire army back home. And actually, with whatever support power is getting called in here, quite possibly this refinery will be going down. Another hammer tank gets eliminated. Zaar getting absolutely great value from pretty much every single one of his units. I'm not sure how many units he has left, but he got great value for those ones that he did have. And this Wave Force artillery just killed off a bunch of V4s, I guess, but this V4 is still trying to chase down a fully heroic Wave Force artillery. The airfield is still around, but it looks like Dimon has given up too many of his forces to now walk across the map. He's got an APOC tank, 3 hammer tanks, and some terror drones. I guess he's got the bullfrogs as well, but he doesn't have as much of an army as he once did. The V4s, for some reason, got entirely sectioned off and destroyed, and without those V4s, it's harder for him to break Zaar. Wave Force artillery closing in. Zaar crossing the map with the King Onis. Dimon continues to tick to maintain control. Well, that was a short-lived, very heroic Wave Force artillery. Those infantry do a decent amount of damage, but not enough. The King Onis are needed to break that APOC tank, and the Bear is going to go for the kill on that infantry, and this one Tengu is what stands between ultimate twin blade cost efficiency and death. Now 2 Tengus are here, but the Bullfrogs are also on the ground. The Twin Frog combo may indeed be the savior of yet another Soviet player. How many Soviet players have to be saved by Twin Frog before it's just declared the ultimate Soviet player is just the Twin Frog composition? Tengu's going to be coming in here, but they're not going to be able to deal with the hammer tanks. The APOC tank going for the crush, but it's not quite enough. The tank busters were enough to break down that APOC tank, and the Tier 2 may actually be going down here as the tank busters target it down, and the King Onis trying to create space for them. Even the MCV going to be getting called off the line, but good, oh no, he almost doesn't get the kill there, but he does finally kill off that super reactor, and this attack has become such an absolute mess as the Bullfrogs are now forced to once again deal with the Tengus as they swing in for another pass, and finally, this surely must be the end, but maybe it won't even be, as an APOC tank and 2 hammer tanks do survive. The GG gets called, and Zaar has been defeated. ASDF has left the game, and that was an interesting one. A Soviet versus Empire with a really slow buildup. Normally we see the harassment phase be a much more intense and focused part of the game, but in this case, the harassment phase was relatively calm. And then it was just like Dimon wanted to pull that army apart in a very defensive way. He wanted Zaar to be attacking into him. And by the way, I will try and link in the description. There is an FPV of this from Dimon's perspective, so you can check out what it looked like for Dimon to be playing this and some other games against Zaar. Zaar, you know, not able to break Dimon, and part of that was certainly Dimon's ability to hit first almost every single time and draw out the engagement over a longer period of time. They were actually extremely neck and neck in the economy. Zaar getting out his, I guess, 3rd or 4th, slightly ahead of Dimon with the help of those oil derricks. He maintained... his 3rd was slower, but his 4th was quicker, right? And he maintained some kind of an economic edge, and Dimon only crossing him really at the very, very end. But it took a long time for Dimon to really overcome the income of Zaar. But that will do it for this game. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Sybert, signing out.